So, you're hearing news these days about how Windows updates are destroying people's PCs. Maybe you've even experienced a faulty Windows update yourself, or got interrupted during an intense session of your favorite hobby, gaming. And now you're asking yourself if there is a better operating system out there that has less interruptions, less ads, and just gets out of the way. So you put this into YouTube and you come across a bunch of videos that mention Linux. But the majority of the videos you come across are talking about different distros, different packaging formats, whether it's a Flatpak, a Snap, Deb, or RPM, how to change your configurations in the terminal, and all of this fancy stuff. All that is a barrier to entry for better gaming. So in this video, I'm not going to talk about different distros, different packaging, all of that. I'm only going to give you one way of doing it the way I do it. The distro I use and recommend is Fedora Workstation. I specifically mention Fedora Workstation because Fedora has multiple flavors that have different features. But I use Workstation, so that's the one I recommend, and I believe that's the one that gets the most attention from Fedora devs as well. And Fedora in general is the best in terms of getting updates and kernel updates, even between major releases. Just to clarify, this is not a full installation tutorial. I'll cover the basics here. So you can download Fedora from getfedora.org. I would recommend using the Fedora Media Writer, which you can find right under the download section in the Fedora download page. This is a nice little tool that will automatically download the operating system for you and would also create a bootable USB drive for you that you can use to then install the OS itself. Once the USB drive is ready, just go to the boot up menu, usually by pressing the F12 key repeatedly, and select your USB from the list once it shows up. The full installation of the OS is out of scope for this video, but the installer itself is simple enough. It'll guide you through the process of installing the operating system on your machine. Leave a comment below if you want an in-depth Fedora installation tutorial. Once Fedora is installed and you've gone through the initial setup process, you'll be dropped into the desktop environment, which is called GNOME. Yes, it's pronounced GNOME. At first glance, it's very Mac-like. You have the top bar and nothing else on the desktop. But the workflow is very different. Once you get used to it, generally everything else seems inferior, at least to me. In the top bar, at the top left, you have your activities and all of your applications. In the middle, you have your clock, your widgets, and all of your notifications. And to the right, you have all of your toggles and menus. First thing you should do is update your system. You will have to restart because there will most likely be kernel updates and they're included. Once you're updated and restarted, we can talk about hardware. If you have an AMD GPU, you're basically good to go. All the drivers are baked in. If you have an NVIDIA GPU, you will have to download some drivers, but you will not get them from the web. Fedora has you covered with the Software Center again. In the top right-hand side menu of the Software Center, you can click the Software Repositories button and it will open up a dialog box. At the bottom of this box, you can enable the NVIDIA drivers section. Once you do, go back to the home screen of the Software Center and you can scroll down to the hardware drivers section and just install NVIDIA drivers from there. Once you click the install button, don't immediately restart because it takes a little bit of processing after you install the drivers. Just give it a couple of minutes and then restart. If you have Secure Boot enabled, Fedora's got you covered there as well, because there are some additional requirements when installing drivers with Secure Boot. The Software Center, once you click install on that NVIDIA driver, will instruct you with some additional steps to take. Just follow the steps and your driver will be installed. Comment below if you have any issues installing the driver and I'll try to help out wherever I can. Now when it comes to the actual games, Steam and the Heroic Games Launcher will cover 99% of what you want to play. To install Steam, I would recommend using the Flatpak version. You can simply install that from Software Center again. You do have to go into the repositories one more time from the right-hand side menu and enable FlatHub right at the bottom near the NVIDIA driver toggle. Now Flatpak is a secure sandboxed environment. So that means you have to take some additional steps to get some additional features. If you want to use controllers with your Linux Steam client, you have to install a package called Steam Devices. Now, brace yourselves, you're going to have to use the terminal for this. I know, scary terminal. But this is going to be the only time you use it for gaming. Essentially, you have to input this command into the terminal to allow Steam to use controllers. You can copy this command from the description below the like button and just paste it into your terminal. Remember to use Ctrl-Shift-V to paste in the terminal. Once FlatHub is enabled, just search for Steam in the Software Center, click through to the details page of the Steam listing, make sure to change to FlatHub in the drop-down below the install button, and install it there. If you have a large games library that you've already installed into an external drive and you want to give Steam Linux client access to it, you're going to have to provide explicit permission. You can do this by using the Flatseal application. In the Software Center, just search for Flatseal, install the application, and then open it up, find Steam Client in the list of applications, go down to the File System section in the Other Files subsection, add the path where your game library exists, and then you can use, as usual, add that folder into Steam as your external library. And you're basically done with Steam. Now if you have a large game library in Good Old Games or Epic Games or Amazon Prime Games, you can use the Heroic Games Launcher on Linux. Just fire up Software Center again, do a quick search for Heroic, and you should see the launcher right there in the list. Install it. There is no other option for Heroic other than FlatHub. And log in to all of the services that you have access to. It supports GOG, Epic, and Amazon Prime. Once you log in to any of the services that Heroic supports, it will sync your games into a unified library that you can view. Now that both Steam and Heroic are installed, it's a matter of downloading the games and playing them, right? Well, not quite. There are still some games that don't run on Linux. Well, it's easier to describe the type of game that doesn't run on Linux. It's any kind of game that implements kernel-level anti-cheat. Most games that fall under this category are competitive games like Fortnite or Apex Legends. But even something like FIFA 23 doesn't support Linux at the time of recording. But there are games that use anti-cheat that do support Linux, something like Helldivers 2 that recently got re-enabled support for Linux. ProtonDB is a great resource for getting all the compatibility information about your favorite games that you want to run. Other than that, there's a pretty good chance that even the newest games will run on your Linux machine. You want to play Silksong or the latest update from No Man's Sky? You can do that. Well, that's my very opinionated way of playing games on Linux. I hope you found this helpful. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Remember to like the video if you liked it, dislike if you didn't, and a subscription is always helpful. Until next time, see ya.